All right. This new immigration bill, the Dignity Bill, has promise. Now, sadly, the name of it may actually hurt its chances of passing. But ton of money for border security, like $25 billion, okay? A revamping of the asylum system to help end catch and release, key. Increasing legal immigration from 7 to 15%. That's an obvious need economically, but perversely also may work against this bill. And the big one, a pathway to citizenship for undocumented immigrants. That is going to be a tough sell. But what a starting point. The best we've had in a long time.
U.S. immigration backlog has constantly been a major issue, and especially green card backlogs. As there has been many efforts in the past, likewise we are getting good news that for the immigration reform. As a result of the various efforts that have been made in the past, we are now receiving encouraging news on the reform of the immigration system.
Visit our Swat&Vee channel with your questions to see how best we can help you out your process. Please don't forget to subscribe if you're new to the channel.
Now let's continue to watch the video and find out what's new in U.S. immigration. Representatives Veronica Escobar, Democrats Texas, and Maria Elvira Salazar, Republican Florida, recently introduced the Dignity Act of 2023. It is a comprehensive and bipartisan immigration bill that aims to stop illegal immigration, find a solution for undocumented immigrants already in the U.S., strengthen the American workforce, and grow the U.S. economy.
Let's bring in the Republican sponsor of the Dignity Act, Congresswoman Maria Salazar. Congresswoman, it's very good to have you. Thank you for taking time today. I appreciate it.
Sure, thank you. Took me 2.5 years to write it.
2.5 years. Why?
Yeah, my first cycle, and I introduced the Dignity Bill by myself last cycle. I won re-election as a sophomore. I made it better, and thank God we found a very important member of the Democratic side, and we've introduced it together. And like you said, this is the best bill to revamp immigration in the last 10 years. Immigration is a toxic topic in Congress, and it should not be that way.
Even though most of the bill's labor provisions, such as H-2A guest worker reform, H-2B reform, and increasing employment-based visa possibilities, are likely all important, they are also not new ideas. But the Dignity program, which would let illegal people work if, among other things, they paid restitution into the American Worker Fund to help retrain native-born workers, stands out as a fairly new idea. Even though the rule is meant to help both immigrants and native-born workers, workforce development programs have a history of not working well and are unlikely to help native-born workers much. Even so, this kind of congressional compromise may be needed to pass comprehensive immigration reform because it takes into account the idea that immigration reform should help but not replace native-born workers. This makes it more likely that both sides of the aisle will support the provision. The Dignity Act would set up the Dignity Program, which would last for 7 years. It would allow undocumented immigrants who have stayed in the U.S. for more than 5 years to get work permits and protection from deportation. Applicants would have to follow all U.S. rules, pass a background check, pay back taxes, and start paying taxes on their income. Also, people would have to pay an initial fine, which isn't set in the bill, and $5,000 in restitution over the course of the program. After finishing the Dignity program, people must decide if they want to keep their dignity status, which lets them work, live, and travel, or if they want to sign up for the redemption program. The redemption program would take an extra 5 years and give the person a way to get lasting legal status. They would have to pay an extra $5,000 or do 200 hours of national community service. The restitution payments that are needed by the Dignity and Redemption programs would pay for the American Worker Fund. This fund would give grants to help pay for workforce education programs and apprenticeships. For every $5,000 payment, at least one worker who was born in the United States could be trained or retrained for work or switch to a different field. About 79%, 8.7 million, of the undocumented people living in the U.S. have been there for more than 5 years, so they are eligible for the program. Even if every qualified undocumented immigrant took part in the Dignity program, which is unlikely, only 5.2% of the native-born workforce would get training through the American Worker Fund. Based on the number of people who signed up for the Dignity Program and were qualified, Table 1 estimates the number of native-born workers who could get new training. Even people who get training through the American Worker Fund might not get much out of it, because government programs for developing the workforce haven't worked well in the past. A 2017 report from the U.S. Department of Labor found that most main job training programs don't help raise wages and probably won't meet the needs of job seekers or employers. The study found that having access to training paid for by the federal government reduced earnings by $638 in areas with high unemployment and increased them by $246 in areas with low unemployment. However, neither estimate was statistically significant. In 2019, the American Action Forum found that these kinds of federal programs don't match up with the skills that the economy will need workers to have in the future. This conclusion was backed up by a 2019 report from the Council of Economic Advisors, CEA, which found that, with the exception of the Registered Apprenticeship Program, job training programs don't offer enough benefits to make up for their costs. No matter how the Dignity Program helps undocumented workers and native-born workers in the long run, the provision may be an important part of immigration reform, a compromise. Conservatives often talk about how important it is to have tools for developing the workforce to keep native-born workers from losing their jobs because of immigrants. The American Worker Fund is aware of this point of view, which makes it more likely that future legislation on broad immigration reform will get support from both parties. Even though the Dignity Program probably won't have much of an effect on retraining native-born workers, it could be used as an example for future bipartisan legislation because it offers a political compromise for immigration reform. The provision is more likely to get the support needed to finally pass some kind of broad immigration reform. This is because it anticipates and tries to address the idea that immigration should add to, not replace, native-born workers.
I hope you guys found this video extremely helpful. If you know anybody that could benefit from this information, definitely make sure to share this video with them. We are all about empowering you with knowledge. So the more people that can benefit from this video, the more people we want watching this video. If you like this video, please make sure to hit that thumbs icon. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and hit on the notification bell for more immigration updates. Bye!